Okay, guys, here we go again. It's November 10th. We got this long spray in the sky. I'm going to go look up to see who it is. Who's the evil behind this one? And it is United Airlines today. That's United 1189. So that's 1117. So 17, if you write it out, it's NWO, which is New World Order. Here comes another one. Let's see who this is. But first, let's document this. It's United Airlines. Notice how they have that global thing on their tail. And of course, it's coming from San Francisco, which they always, San Francisco, and also up north, Washington is up on it. So to San Jose del Cabo, that's where that Alaska Airlines was going last week. This is the registration N423UA. It's an Airbus A320-3232. Okay, so that was them. That's their spraying right there. And here is, this is the newer one. So let's back up. So, okay, that's the first one. That's the United Airlines. And this is, so that's that first one, a little bit more east. And here's the other one, ASA 1418. And again, it's Alaska Airlines doing the same spraying. Alaska Airlines from Los Angeles going down to Guadalajara. Yep, look, 1017. 17, New World Order. So both those guys in it together. So this is also kind of funny, Alaska Airlines, because I called their customer care. The woman did not want to talk about spraying. She said it was a political issue. I said, no, it's a poisoning issue. She said to contact public relations. So Sam Mersperry, named Director of Corporate Communications of Alaska Airlines. Okay, so Alaska Airlines just called me back, even though I didn't give them their number. So she said, can I have your last name? And I said, no. And she said, okay, we're going to block you from contacting us. So they're blocking me from contacting them at this number, 1-800-252-7522. So they want to block you if you don't give them your last name, because they don't want to answer questions about being poisoned. So they told me to contact customer, who was it? Public relations. So that's what I'm doing. And isn't this funny? Because they have Lou cancel me. So cancel me. And this is his number. So I'm going to be calling this next. 1-206-392-5170, or Greg Witter at 206-392-5799. And this woman I talked to, she told me to contact the public relations, and I had before. I've contacted managers, I've written them, they do not write back, they do not respond. And I asked her, she goes, we have to just wait. And I said, well, how long? Because no answer means that they're consenting to what you're saying. So if I'm accusing them of poisoning people, which they're doing overhead, when they lay poisonous lines like that overhead, like that you document and you show exactly who the plane is as they literally fly overhead, and you can document their registration. There's no question about it. This time today they went from Los Angeles at 10:17 a.m., always flying late, to Guadalajara. That's them. And then there was another airline right in front of them too, who also laid poison spray. So I'm going to try to call Lou. Lou, cancel me. That's basically giving them consent to cancel you as they are spraying overhead. And of course, we've got the 99s in there, whatever. Let's start with him and see what he has to say. So if anyone doesn't believe that they actually do spray, here's a patent, US 201. Isn't that interesting? The 201, like Event 201. Remember the Johns Hopkins University where they did the tabletop exercise of some rogue virus in China or whatever, and all of a sudden, a couple months later, we've got this, what they refer to as a COVID-y thingy. 201 000 71771 A1, like AI. It says current assignee, but this is a patent. And it talks about high altitude atmospheric injection system and method. I'm not going to read all of it. I'll leave the link. A system and method is described generally for affecting atmospheric change. The system and the method include providing a high altitude conduit or track. That's what that is, and that's just one little example of today. There's Alaska Airlines track. And this is Alaska Airlines. It shows that is them. And it shows their timing, where they came from Los Angeles to Guadalajara, November 10th at 10:38. That was overhead in San Diego. So there's their track. This system and method also include providing a first material through the conduit or via a payload delivery system. Further, the system and method include expelling the first material into the atmosphere at a high altitude. So here are my pictures of today. So here was the first spray delivery, and then here is another second spray following it very shortly. Sorry if you can't see that, if it's not focusing. And that second spray is American Airlines following them. It starts out like that. The first spray was on the one more on the left, because you can see how it's actually spraying, like spreading out. The second spray there by American Airlines was the first spray. They're the thick one, and then there's Alaska Airlines, the thinner one. And then they both mix together. And then you can see how they're spreading out. So claims, this is a method of affecting atmospheric change comprising providing a high altitude conduit supported by lifting forces and buoyancy forces generated by at least one buoyant lifting body coupled to the high altitude conduit. Provided a first material through the conduit and expelling the first material through at least one conduit opening into the atmospheric high altitude. Down here at number 11, I'm just seeing the method of claim 1, wherein the first material at least partially includes a fluid, partially includes solid particulate, one form of sulfur oxide, at least one form of sulfate ion. The material comprises a sulfate aerosol. First material comprises materials which are designed to affect global dimming. And then the method of claim, where the first material comprises chemicals which are designed to affect global dimming by increasing reflectivity of sunlight by the atmosphere. First material is extracted from a fossil fuel burning process. Material comprises at least one form of halide. So the meaning of halide is a binary compound of a halogen with a more electropositive element or radical. Is that like a free radical? Like something that creates oxidative stress that affects your health in a negative way? If you're interested, you might want to look at this word, tennessine, also. So you can read all this. It says wherein the conduit extends at least 1 kilometer into the atmosphere, and the conduit extends at least 10 kilometers into the atmosphere. The first material at least partially includes liquid sulfur dioxide. talking about a method of delivery, a payload comprising at least one high altitude track supported by lifting forces, the lifting forces coming at least one of buoyancy effects of a carrier, aerodynamic lifting surface, propulsive device, or multiple carriers running a payload carry along the track. Do you know also, all the airlines got together and discussed with the FAA that they wanted to, during the whole Rovity thing, the needle crafting agenda, that they wanted to remove the passenger seats, which they did, so they could carry more cargo, which they did. Just to let you know, if I'll find that and put that in here too. So down here, 61, talking about delivering the payload, causing at least one of greater reflectivity or increased scattering solar energy impinging on the Earth's atmosphere, causing spectrally dependent changes to at least one of the transmission of solar energy impinging on Earth's atmosphere or the atmospheric transmission of terrestrial re-radiation. So just looking a little bit at the history and what they're planning here. A lot of spraying here with Alaska Airlines. This is the one that is live right now that I caught. That's a lot of flying time in the air. So it's funny, this is their flight live right now, but they've cut their, look, they turned off their GPS thing right there. I find that kind of interesting. It's just interesting to me. Because here it is, November 10th. The tail number is N251AK. Yep, they cut off their live flight. So what are they hiding? So here they are, arriving their destination in 1 hour and 16 minutes from Los Angeles. So they're definitely still in the air. And here they are live on another tracker. And then they're going to draw this poison all the way back home tomorrow. So it's a Boeing 737-900 twin jet, Alaska Airlines. So they're flying at 35,000 feet right now. And there they are live. So they've gone over 1,300 miles laying that poison. Planned 33. There's their 33. They love those numbers. En route flight. Yep, and lately they've started painting their planes with Disney logo stuff. So tomorrow, that's 11/11. That's their favorite day, 11/11, guys. They're going to Guadalajara, Seattle. Seattle. Oh, they're returning tonight. They're returning later today to Los Angeles again. So we're going to be double dipped here. And here are all the other planes and their flights that are going to be spraying us. So they've been really consistent with their 536 miles per hour. Today is Friday also, and 536 is Black Friday. Anyhow, shame on Alaska Airlines for being part of the great poisoning. Thank you very much. Try not to support them, although American Airlines is doing this as well today. So we'll have to call them out as well. So here they are again, another live flight tracker. You know, you can turn off one. No, Bonita, great. They went through me here too in Bonita. You know, you can, maybe you can't control all of them. So here's the other plane finder tracker. Yep, same flight. And there's a registration N251AK. Flying at 35,000 feet, 480 knots. And they're heading down there to Guadalajara. So remember, American Airlines is doing this too. A lot of them are doing this. It just happens to be them today that I'm focusing on because I've seen them do it a lot. And I'm tired of it. And they're not answering you and they get hostile. It's funny, the manager at Alaska Airlines that I talked to, she said, I said, you know, I'm concerned about the spraying overhead that I'm witnessing. I've taken pictures, I've documented it. And she goes, I'm not going to discuss this with you. That's a political issue. I said, no, it's a poisoning issue. You guys are poisoning us. She got very hostile and she even called me back, even though I didn't give her my phone number. They call you back and she demanded my last name. And because I didn't give her my last name, she said that they're going to delete me from all of my, the phones. So they're going to block my phone from being able to contact them. Anyhow, wonderful company, very hostile if you call them out on their activity, on their poisoning. The great poisoning is happening right now, you guys. I don't know if anyone else has noticed it, but they're one of them. PPP, that's the public-private partnership, who's trying to take down your health. And this is American Airlines. That's where I hit them right there. That's where I saw that first spray. There they go. Thanks, United. Here are all the past and some of their plans on spraying, their dates right here. Look at that, 9/15. They sure like that time. Apparently they like the 9/11 too, the 9/9s. So 9/19 there is also, it says Stormy Daniels. That's Stormy DNA Lies. 9/19 is also Abusing Trust. Activate. The Biblical Antichrist X. Is that like Twitter's XX? The Perfect Storm is here. So this was them. This is their first spray there. And the second spray is in the background. That's Alaskan Airlines. So that's Alaska and American Airlines working together. And also one real quick thing, just noting, this morning, it was like just a couple hours ago, the humidity was at 43%. Now after the flights have gone overhead, both Alaska and United Airlines, now the humidity is way lower. Almost, that was 20%, and it's just now going up again. But that's not normal to drop that quickly right after the spraying. United Airlines and Alaska Airlines, because they also were part of that FAA letter to carry extra cargo, to remove the seats so they can carry more cargo. And I wonder what that cargo had in it. Continuing down just a little bit further, I just want to show you one little picture here of this patent. So here's one little picture they show. Looks like a huge like smokestack, whatever. It's funny because it also looks like it could be a messed up looking cell tower. Just another figure. Here's another one. You know what that reminds me of? Reminds me of that video I did of the water tower. It's not a great picture. Here's another video I did. Do microwave towers destroy the integrity of our drinking water? It's just sort of interesting, same shape as the water towers. Here's our figure 5. So they talk about troposphere, tropopause, stratosphere, stratopause. So this says on Earth, the stratopause is 47 to 51 kilometers. That's 29 to 32 miles above sea level. Now here's a little chart. Shows the tropopause, the troposphere, stratosphere, stratopause. The tropopause in height, it says kilometers. And it says here the tropopause, the height of the tropopause is 36,000 feet. And it shows here altitude in kilometers. There's the tropopause, troposphere, ozone layer. So the International Standard Atmosphere assumes that the average height of the tropopause is 36,000 feet. That's just the average. So this is United's flight yesterday, going from San Francisco down to San Jose del Cabo, flying at 35,000 feet. Here's Alaska Airlines yesterday, flying down to Guadalajara. There they are right there. Going from Los Angeles to Guadalajara, flying at 35,000 feet. So this is figure 5. This is figure 8. So it's, let's see, expel the first material through at least one conduit opening into the high atmosphere at high altitude. Provide a first material through the conduit, and then provide a high altitude conduit. Here's a figure 6, way high up there. Here's figure 10, says track the distribution of the first material, the atmosphere over time. Second material, I'll leave you this link, but they're talking about basically distributing the materials, like those materials. Figure 11, figure 12. What's that, a parachuter? Who knows? That's weird. Look at that, spraying way high up in the sky. So here in this patent, it says in number, let's see, it's next to 61 down here, but it talks about the drawings, and it says the description of the drawings and claims are not meant to be limiting. Other embodiments may be utilized and other changes may be made without departing from the spirit or scope of the subject matter presented here. They talk about hardware and software. In certain contexts, the choice between hardware and software can be significant. The design choice representing cost versus efficiency trade-offs. Those having the skill and the art will appreciate that there are various vehicles by which processes and or systems and or technologies described herein can be affected, and that the preferred vehicle will vary with the context in which the processes or systems and or other technologies are deployed. And it says, for example, if an implementer determines that speed and accuracy are paramount, the implementer may opt for a mainly hardware and or firmware vehicle. Alternatively, if flexibility is paramount, the implementer may opt for a mainly software implementation. So blah, blah, blah. So you can change out however you want to get that spraying in the sky. Further down, it says, the subject matter described herein are capable of being distributed as a program product in a variety of forms, and that an illustrative embodiment of the subject matter described herein applies regardless of the particular type of signal-bearing medium used to actually carry out the distribution. Examples of a signal-bearing medium include, but are not limited to, the following: a recordable type medium such as a floppy disk, hard disk drive, a computer disk, a digital video disk, a digital tape, a computer memory, etc., and a transmission type medium such as a digital and or analog communication medium, fiber optic cable, a waveguide, a wired communications link, wireless communication. Referring now to Figure 1, a high-altitude structure 100 is depicted. High-altitude structure includes, but is not limited to, any of a variety of materials which may be relatively lightweight, strong, and capable of standing aloft in a variety of atmospheric, weather-related, and heating conditions. Further, Structure 100 may be capable of being applied in a variety of environments and for a variety of applications. Structure 100 may be used in a variety of ways, including and as a supporting structure for equipment, but such as, but not limited to, antenna and a vent for exhaust gases, or as a particulate or gas introducer, or the like. So basically they're telling you that they kind of like the sky is the limit. So they talk about gas being introduced. Further down it says, further, the shape, size, materials, relative dimensions, etc. may vary by location on the structure, alternatively may be varied in time, and they basically are opening up and keeping open how they can distribute the material and what material is distributed. Over here at the 0028, it says in one embodiment, conduit may reach higher than 1 kilometer. In other embodiments, the conduit may be formed to reach much greater heights, for example, referring to Figure 5, which we looked at earlier, talking about the stratosphere, which in the tropopause, and the troposphere, which was, I'm going to go back to look at stratosphere first. So the stratosphere extends from 4 to 12 miles, that's 6 to 20 kilometers above the Earth's surface, to around 31, that's 50 kilometers. So here we have a little picture. There's the tropopause. So this is also talking about the material may come from any variety of sources, including but not limited to a reservoir, a storage container, the atmosphere and exhaust or waste material flow, etc. At high altitude, conduit 100 is conduit which may exceed the height of chimneys. And then they talk, I'm skipping way down here. So they're talking about stratosphere. Anyhow, you should probably look at this. It's interesting. So they talk about 200 may be used as a high atmospheric chimney for a manufacturing plant. Alternatively, conduit may be used to provide gases and particulate into the atmosphere in an attempt to influence global warming or global cooling. It has been shown that certain gases and or particulate in the air may reflect incoming sunlight, thereby reducing the amount of heat absorbed by the Earth. Also, it has been shown that certain other gases and or particulate in the air may tend to trap heat close to the Earth's surface, thereby increasing the amount of heat absorbed by the Earth. By controlling the amount of type of gases and our particulate placed in the atmosphere, it may be possible to control to some extent the heating of the Earth. Delivery of such gases and or particulate may be provided by the use of high altitude conduit systems, which are described here. Skipping down to it says, although facility may be provided by having conduit 500 extending into stratosphere, other heights of conduit may be useful as well. For example, it may be desirable to have a conduit extended at almost any height within the troposphere. It may also be used to have conduits which extend beyond the stratosphere. So I think you get the point here. They also talk about water and groundwater and bodies of water. So I've also shown a lot of the flying around our water and reservoirs too by our authorities lately. They also mention helium gas. And do you know that your computer has helium gas in it? And if you look up death rates and stuff, you'll see too that when computers were introduced into our society, the death rate increased. Just kind of thought that was interesting. And it also talks about atmospheric changes are introducing precipitation by cloud seeding. So they talk definitely about cloud seeding here. They talk about global dimming and global warming and how they can affect it by also adding these metals. Examples of metals include, but are not limited to, aluminum. Notice the Alzheimer's rates are going up. Gold, titanium, anyhow, all kinds of stuff that they're putting in our skies. Interesting how they bring up 9/11 and contrails. They talk about halides, and then we come down here too, and they talk about wavelengths, infrared wavelengths, infrared radiation. I mean, they're very creative. They even talk about carbon dioxide. Way further down, it also talks about a high altitude elevator. Have you guys seen a lot of visuals of stairs going up, like ascension, like people are ascending up stairs? I've seen that. But anyhow, high altitude elevator systems for lifting mass to the stratosphere. So the elevator system, they also talk about using external power from the cable or beamed from the ground by self-powered motors on the vehicles themselves. So those skilled in the art will recognize that it is common within the art to implement devices and or processes and or systems in the fashions set forth herein, and thereafter use engineering and or business practices to integrate such implemented devices and or processes and or systems into more comprehensive devices and or processes and or systems. That is, at least a portion of the devices and or processes or systems described herein can be integrated into other devices and or processes or systems via a reasonable amount of experimentation. Okay, anyhow, so basically, anyhow they can do it. Oh, look at this too. Communication systems, telephone systems, voice, very interesting. Wired, wireless services, entities such as Sprint, Singular, Nextel. Yep. It's just so interesting how it's all, trucks, locomotive. They talk about trains. Wired, wireless services. It's very extensive. So the herein described subject matter sometimes illustrates different components contained within or connected with different other components. It's to be understood that such depicted architectures are merely exemplary, and that in fact many other architectures can be implemented which achieve the same functionality. So they're all so associated with each other. They're all operably coupled. And here are also some of the corporations like Lockheed, Standard Telephones, General Mills. It's like a food thing. There's your DuPont. There's Hughes Aircraft. I've seen that specific patent, the stratospheric Welsh-back seeding for reduction of global warming. That's where they're shoving metal oxides using planes to do that. System method remediation, atmospheric conditions and systems for high altitude telecommunications. Yep, they're all in it together. Lockheed. So for those of you who don't think that they're doing weather modification, you're really being very ignorant. Look at this. High altitude payload structures and related methods. Methods for controlling hurricanes. No, yeah, they don't control the weather. It's called warfare, people. And if you don't think that we're at war, you need to wake up. Just jumping super quickly over to this patent. Again, it's a 201. Is that the same one? It looks like almost the same one. So look how close. This is our original patent that I was talking about. You got the 201 00071777181. And here's your methods for controlling hurricanes. And look how close that is. Methods for controlling hurricanes. A method for controlling hurricanes by raising temperatures in the eye and or in the outflow. Air temperature within the eye and in the outflow of a hurricane is raised by flying scores of jet planes with afterburners in the structure. Small changes in temperature on a large scale bring in large changes in other variables on the smaller scale to change the direction and intensity of the hurricane. They've got some images here. Oh, look, there's a plane. Anyhow, this is all under the classifications, devices or methods for influencing weather conditions. Down here, it talks about the Storm Fury project carried out by the U.S. government for several years, focused on hurricanes formation, suppression by means of aerial dispersion of silver iodide. If you can suppress it, you can also increase it. Now look, and U.S. patent, look at this, 5,000 whatever, teaches about satellite weather modification systems. Who do we know that uses satellites? And they also use huge ships also to control hurricanes. Yep, I'll leave the link to this patent too. It's interesting. But this states, in recent research supported by the NASA Institute for Advanced Concept, Ross Hoffman advanced his theory of chaotic system. Chaos, the so-called butterfly effect. That's what they love. They love the chaos, but they won't answer your questions regarding it. It says here too, any suitable jet planes may be used. So I think you get the message here that they can do what they want in the air and influence down below. So this will probably be my very last part of this whole thing. So, you know, you look at Alaska Airlines and how they're matching up with Disney. This is your symbol also for MK Ultra, the little Mickey ears. Here they are, the Toontown here with Daffy Duck, more Mickey ears, and Goofy again with the MK Ultra Mickey symbol and the tall buildings. So this plane right now, specifically this plane for Alaska, is flying live right now from Palm Springs to Seattle today on November 11th. So here they are right now. all painted up with their Disney, heading up to Seattle, to that little Space Needle. So I looked up Alaska Airlines as the anagram, just kind of played with that a little bit, and it's like as an Asia killer, that could be played with as an Asia killer. So then I wanted to know who really owned Alaska Airlines. So the Vanguard group is the shareholders. They're the largest shareholder of Alaska Airlines, but then who owns Vanguard Group is the BlackRock. They're all pretty much one and the same. So Vanguard is owned by BlackRock, and Lawrence Fink is the CEO and co-founder of BlackRock, along with 7 colleagues. So is that like the 7 dwarves? And look, there's the 7 dwarfs, and they're all on a bunch of wood. So there's Larry Fink. So he's the biggest shareholder of BlackRock. And there he is holding the lantern, the light. So here's an article, Larry Fink, the chief executive at BlackRock, which with 5.1 trillion is the world's biggest investor, just sent a memo to his staff addressing what he described as an uncertain and uneasy time. So this is back in February of 2017. Here he's still wearing his pink tie. I'll leave you this memo, this letter that he wrote, because it's kind of interesting. But this is before the whole Rovity pandemic-y thing. So here's his letter to all his employees and colleagues, renewing our principles as a global leader, and just following all the way down. This is one thing that kind of hit me. It says, we also need to be active and engaged corporate citizens in these communities. We need to promote our commitment to long-termism. Long-termism. I thought that was a weird word, so I went and looked at that. Long-termism. And remember, Alaska's gone with Disney now, so, but the word long-termism, which Larry Fink used, here's the anagram for long-termism, is Mr. Molesting. And so also this woman, co-founder and director of BlackRock, she's also board of directors on Apple. This woman is Susan Wagner, and another president for BlackRock is Robert S. Capito. He also went to the Wharton School, University of Pennsylvania, which is also where Trump went. I think they're 10 years apart, though, or 11 years apart. No, maybe 10 years. Yeah, 10 years apart, because he's 66. Trump's 77. And going back to Alaska Airlines, as an Asia killer is their anagram. Looking a little bit into her, too. She has these joint ventures in Japan, China, and India. So I just thought that was sort of weird. Anyhow, they're all in it together. All on their wood. Is she their little Snow White?